Holloway House. It stands alone, a Victorian mansion shrouded in darkness and dread. Locals tell tales of its sinister nature, stories passed down through generations. They say the house is never truly empty. Whispers echo in the dead of night. Footsteps creak on the stairs when no one is around. Some dismiss it as folklore, the ramblings of superstitious minds, but others know the truth. The house is a living entity, feeding off the energy of the living. Holloway House is more than just a structure of wood and stone. It's a vessel for something ancient and malevolent, a presence that watches from the shadows, its motives as murky as the secrets it keeps. Those who have dared to spend the night within its walls tell of strange occurrences, objects moving on their own, disembodied voices whispering their names, cold spots that defy explanation. Some say it's the spirits of those who died within the house, unable to find peace. Others believe it's something far more sinister. Holloway House is not a place for the faint of heart. For years, investigators and paranormal enthusiasts have been drawn to Holloway House, hoping to unravel its mysteries. They come armed with cameras and recording equipment, eager to document the strange phenomena that plague the house. But the house guards its secrets closely. Evidence is often contradictory, open to interpretation. Some leave convinced that they've encountered the supernatural. Holloway House continues to captivate and terrify, a testament to the enduring power of the unknown. The year was 1956. The Holloway family, filled with hope and dreams, stood on the cusp of a new chapter. James and Eleanor, high school sweethearts, had finally found their dream home, Holloway House. The stately Victorian mansion promised a life of warmth and happiness. They envisioned their children, Emily and Ethan, playing in the spacious halls. Little did they know that beneath the surface of their idyllic dream home lurked a sinister secret. A darkness that had seeped into the very foundation of the house, waiting patiently to be unleashed. They were moving into a house with a heart of darkness. As weeks melted into months, a creeping unease began to settle over the Holloway family. The house, once a sanctuary of hope, slowly morphed into a source of growing anxiety. Eleanor noticed it first. Emily complained of seeing shadows dancing in her room at night, whispering voices that called her name from the darkness. Ethan grew increasingly withdrawn, his laughter replaced by a haunting silence. James tried to rationalize the events, but even he couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The house now echoed with the whispers of a dark past. The nightmare that would forever stain the history of Holloway House began on a night like any other. A storm raged outside, wind howling, rain lashing against the windows. Inside, the Holloways prepared for bed, their faces etched with apprehension. Eleanor, unable to shake the feeling of dread, checked on the children twice, whispering words of comfort she herself no longer believed. As the night wore on, the strange occurrences escalated. Footsteps echoed in the hallway, disembodied whispers slithered from the shadows. By morning, the Holloway family had become another tragic chapter in the house's gruesome history. Dawn broke, casting a pale light on a scene of unimaginable horror. Neighbours, drawn by an eerie silence, discovered the unthinkable. The front door of Holloway House stood ajar, as if beckoning the outside world to witness the carnage within. Inside, the idyllic image of the family portrait stood in stark contrast to the gruesome tableau that awaited. The Holloways were found lifeless in their beds, their faces frozen in expressions of sheer terror. The police launched a full-scale investigation, but the evidence was scarce, shrouded in a veil of mystery. The investigation into the Holloway family tragedy quickly hit a wall. The lack of concrete evidence and the whispers of the supernatural left the police grasping at straws. The medical examiner could find no logical explanation for the deaths. The family members appeared to have died from fright, their hearts simply giving out. Theories abounded, but the lack of any physical evidence debunked them. The police dismissed claims of hauntings as superstition, but deep down a seed of doubt lingered. In the end, the investigation into the Holloway family tragedy was officially closed. The case filed away as unexplained. The house, shrouded in whispers and fear, stood empty, a chilling monument to the tragedy that had unfolded within its walls. The story of the Holloways became a cautionary tale, whispered among the townsfolk. Holloway House, once a symbol of hope and dreams, became synonymous with tragedy and fear. The very mention of its name sent shivers down spines. The tragedy of the Holloway family was just the beginning, the first chapter in a chilling saga. Years passed. The tragedy of the Holloway family faded into local legend. Holloway House stood silent, shrouded in an eerie stillness. Then, in the spring of 1972, the Cooper family purchased the property, unaware of the horrors that awaited them. John Cooper, a history professor, was captivated by the house's Victorian charm. His wife Mary saw the house as a source of endless inspiration. Their children, Daniel and Sarah, were excited about living in a real-life haunted house. They were tragically unaware that they were stepping into a nightmare far more terrifying than any local legend. The Coopers quickly settled into Holloway House, their initial excitement undeterred by the subtle signs that something was amiss. Mary noticed it first. Strange cold spots in certain rooms, the feeling of being watched, the faint sound of whispers. She initially dismissed these occurrences as her imagination running wild. But as the days turned into weeks, the strange occurrences intensified. Objects moved on their own, doors creaked open and slammed shut. The house was not as welcoming as it had first appeared. As the weeks morphed into months, the strange occurrences escalated into full-blown terror. One particularly stormy night, the entity that haunted Holloway House made its presence undeniably known. The power went out, plunging the house into darkness. The family huddled together in the living room, their faces illuminated by the flickering glow of a fireplace. Suddenly a blood-curdling scream shattered the tense silence. Sarah claimed that something had grabbed her arm from under the bed. That night, sleep offered no escape from the horrors that plagued Holloway House. The nightmare that unfolded within the walls of Holloway House reached its terrifying climax on a night shrouded in fog and fear. John awoke to an eerie silence, the house unusually still. He reached for his wife, but found her side of the bed empty. Panic surged through him as he realized that the children's room was also silent. He searched frantically for his family, his heart pounding in his chest. As he rounded the corner into the hallway, the old grandfather clock began to chime. John fled into the night, his screams swallowed by the fog, the sole survivor of the horrors of Holloway House. The news of the Cooper family's disappearance spread through the town like wildfire, igniting a firestorm of fear and speculation. The once dismissed whispers of hauntings and curses surrounding Holloway House now resonated with chilling clarity. The house, once again the epicenter of tragedy, became a macabre spectacle, drawing curious onlookers and paranormal enthusiasts from far and wide. The police launched a full-scale investigation, but despite their best efforts, the case remained unsolved. Mary, Daniel and Sarah vanished without a trace, their fates forever intertwined with the sinister legacy of Holloway House. John Cooper, the sole survivor of the nightmare, was a broken man. He tried to tell his story, to warn others of the darkness that resided within those walls, but his words were met with skepticism and disbelief. He was haunted by the memory of that night, the chilling silence, the menacing shadows, the agonizing realization that his family was gone, lost to a force he couldn't comprehend. The town, once a place of peace and tranquility, was now shrouded in a palpable sense of unease. The shadow of Holloway House loomed large, a constant reminder of the horrors that lay hidden beneath the surface of their idyllic existence. Despite the tragedy that had befallen the Coopers, the allure of Holloway House remained. It stood for years, abandoned and decaying, a silent sentinel to the horrors it had witnessed. Yet, there were always those drawn to its mystery, compelled by a morbid curiosity to uncover its secrets. Some were drawn by the hope of finding answers, of solving the mysteries that had plagued the house for decades. Others sought fame or fortune, eager to exploit the house's notoriety for their own gain. But no matter their intentions, those who dared to enter Holloway House rarely left unscathed. Whispers of strange occurrences persisted. Shadows moving in the darkness, disembodied voices echoing through the empty halls, the feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. The house, it seemed, was not content to remain silent. It craved attention, feeding off the fear and curiosity of those who dared to approach it. And so the cycle continued. Years passed, seasons changed, but the darkness that resided within the walls of Holloway House remained. It was a stain on the landscape, a chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed, their secrets buried deep within their foundations. The house stood alone, a testament to the enduring power of fear, a haunting symbol of the darkness that can lie hidden beneath the surface of even the most idyllic settings. Decades passed, and the legend of Holloway House grew darker, more entrenched in local lore. The stories of the Holloway and Cooper families became cautionary tales, whispered with a mix of fear and morbid fascination. The house itself remained abandoned, its windows like vacant eyes staring out at the world, daring anyone to challenge its sinister hold. By 1999, the house had attracted the attention of paranormal investigators from across the country. Drawn by the chilling tales and the potential for groundbreaking evidence, a team of seasoned researchers, led by the renowned Dr. Emily Carter, secured permission to spend a weekend within the infamous walls of Holloway House. Dr. Carter, a woman of science, but with an open mind to the unexplained, assembled a team equipped with state-of-the-art technology, EMF detectors, infrared cameras, EVP recorders, and even a thermal camera capable of detecting subtle changes in temperature that might indicate a spiritual presence. The team was prepared to document their findings with meticulous detail, hoping to shed light on the dark history of Holloway House and perhaps even make contact with the entities that haunted its halls. As the sun began its descent, casting long, ominous shadows across the overgrown lawn, Dr. Carter and her team crossed the threshold of Holloway House, stepping into a world shrouded in mystery and steeped in sorrow. The air grew heavy with anticipation, the silence broken only by the creaking of the floorboards beneath their feet and the frantic pounding of their hearts. The team dispersed throughout the house, setting up their equipment in key locations, their movements efficient and practiced. The atmosphere within the house was thick with anticipation, a palpable tension that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. Dr. Carter, her face illuminated by the glow of her laptop screen, meticulously checked the readings on her EMF detector, noting any unusual spikes in electromagnetic energy. In the master bedroom, where the Holloways had met their tragic end, the EVP recorder picked up a series of chilling whispers. At first, they were faint, almost indistinguishable from the background noise of the old house settling, but as the night wore on, the whispers grew louder, clearer, taking on a haunting quality that sent shivers down the spines of even the most seasoned investigators. One voice, faint but distinct, seemed to whisper the name Emily, the name of the young Holloway girl who had met an untimely end within these very walls. Another voice, deeper and laced with an unsettling growl, seemed to warn them to get out. The team, their faces pale with a mixture of fear and excitement, meticulously documented these recordings, their voices hushed with awe and apprehension. The spectral voices captured on their equipment served as a chilling reminder that they were not alone within the walls of Holloway House. Something else was present, something unseen but undeniably real, something that wanted to communicate, to share its secrets, to warn them of the darkness that lay hidden beneath the surface of this seemingly ordinary house. As the night deepened, the activity within Holloway House intensified. The thermal camera, its lens scanning the darkened rooms, revealed a series of unexplained cold spots, pockets of frigid air that defied any logical explanation. These cold spots seemed to move, shifting and swirling like living entities, their presence sending a chill down the spines of the investigators. In the hallway where John Cooper had encountered the ghostly apparition of the grandfather clock, the team felt a sudden drop in temperature. The air grew heavy, oppressive, as if an unseen entity had entered the room, its presence suffocating, overwhelming. One of the investigators, a young woman named Sarah, claimed to have felt a cold hand brush against her arm, the touch lingering long after whatever had touched her had vanished. The house itself seemed to be reacting to their presence, as if it were a living, breathing entity, its energy feeding off their fear and curiosity. The floorboards creaked and groaned underfoot, as if the house were shifting, adjusting to their weight. Doors slammed shut on their own, their movements swift and deliberate, as if controlled by an unseen hand. The team, their nerves on edge, pressed on, their determination fueled by a potent mixture of fear and scientific curiosity. They were determined to uncover the truth behind Holloway House, to unravel the mysteries that had plagued it for decades, even if it meant confronting the unknown head-on. As the team moved from room to room, their equipment picking up a series of unexplained phenomena, they stumbled upon a chilling discovery. Behind a bookshelf in the library, they discovered a hidden door, its outline barely visible beneath layers of dust and cobwebs. With bated breath, they moved the heavy bookshelf, its wood groaning in protest after decades of undisturbed slumber. The door, creaking open with a sound like a scream, revealed a small, dusty room, its interior untouched for decades. The air within the room was stale, heavy with the weight of forgotten secrets. As the team cautiously entered, their flashlights cutting through the darkness, they realized they had stumbled upon something truly remarkable, something that hinted at the dark heart of Holloway House. The room was sparsely furnished, containing only a few pieces of antique furniture, a writing desk, a chair, and a small ornate table. But it was the contents of the desk that sent a collective shiver down their spines. Inside, they discovered a series of old journals, their leather covers cracked and faded, their pages filled with faded ink and chilling sketches. The journals, they soon realized, belonged to the former owner of Holloway House, the enigmatic Dr. Holloway, the man whose dark legacy cast a long shadow over the property. As they began to carefully examine the journals, their initial curiosity gave way to a chilling realization. The journals contained a series of disturbing entries, detailing Dr. Holloway's gruesome experiments, his twisted fascination with the occult, and his belief that he could cheat death itself. The team, their faces pale with a mixture of horror and fascination, realized they had stumbled upon a treasure trove of evidence, a glimpse into the mind of a madman, a man whose actions had irrevocably stained the very fabric of Holloway House. Dr. Holloway's journals painted a chilling portrait of a man consumed by his own hubris, a man who believed he could bend the laws of nature to his will. The entries, written in a spidery script that spoke of countless late nights fueled by obsession, detailed his increasingly unorthodox experiments, his desperate attempts to unlock the secrets of life and death. He had arrived in the small town decades earlier, a young doctor with a promising future. But beneath his charming demeanour and sharp intellect lurked a darkness, a hunger for knowledge that knew no bounds. He became fixated on the idea of conquering death, believing that he could find a way to cheat the inevitable, to preserve life beyond its natural limits. His early experiments, shrouded in secrecy within the walls of Holloway House, focused on unusual botanical specimens, herbs and plants rumoured to possess supernatural properties. He believed that within these plants lay the key to unlocking the secrets of eternal life. But his experiments took a sinister turn as his obsession grew. He began to experiment on live subjects, luring unsuspecting patients from the town with promises of miracle cures. The journals hinted at unspeakable procedures, at the screams that echoed through the halls of Holloway House late at night, at the desperate pleas for mercy that were met with chilling silence. As Dr. Carter and her team delved deeper into the journals, the full horror of what had transpired within the walls of Holloway House began to unfold. They discovered that the doctor's obsession with immortality had led him down a dark path, a path paved with suffering and despair. He had become convinced that the key to eternal life lay not in botanicals, but in harnessing the life force of the living. He believed that by transferring the vital essence from one being to another, he could cheat death itself, achieving a twisted form of immortality. His victims, lured into his web of deceit with false promises, were subjected to horrific experiments. The journals detailed gruesome procedures, attempts to extract and transfer vital energies, to fuse souls together in an unholy union. The entries spoke of agonizing pain, of desperate pleas for mercy, of the chilling silence that followed. The team, their faces pale with a growing sense of horror, began to realize that they weren't just dealing with the remnants of a haunted house. They were standing in the heart of a place where unspeakable acts had been committed, where the very air was thick with the residue of suffering and despair. The house itself seemed to react to their presence, as if the walls themselves were crying out, desperate to share their gruesome history. The EMF detectors, previously showing sporadic bursts of activity, now crackled with an almost constant energy, their readings spiking off the charts as the team moved from room to room. The cold spots, once confined to specific areas, now seemed to follow them, swirling around their feet like restless spirits. The temperature in the house plummeted, the air growing heavy and oppressive, making it difficult to breathe. The team, their faces pale with a mixture of fear and determination, pressed on, their scientific curiosity battling with their primal instincts to flee. They discovered a hidden room in the basement, its existence not mentioned in any blueprints or architectural plans. The room was cold, damp and reeked of decay. The walls were lined with shelves upon which rested countless jars, each containing a grotesque specimen preserved in formaldehyde. Human organs, twisted and deformed, floated in their murky prisons. Skulls, their empty sockets staring out at them with silent accusations, lined the top shelf. The team, their stomachs churning at the sight, realized that they had stumbled upon Dr. Holloway's macabre laboratory, the place where he had indulged his darkest impulses, where he had crossed the line from respected physician to monster. Section 4. The House of Horrors. As they continued to explore the house, each room revealing new horrors, the team began to piece together the tragic events that had unfolded within those walls. The house, they realized, wasn't just haunted by the spirits of those who had died within its walls. It was a vessel, a conduit for the darkness that Dr. Holloway had unleashed upon the world. His experiments had not brought him immortality, but they had had a profound effect on the house itself. The suffering he had inflicted, the lives he had taken, the darkness he had cultivated had seeped into the very foundation of the house, transforming it into something monstrous, something hungry for more than just the souls of the living. The house craved fear, pain, despair, It fed off the negative emotions of those who dared to enter its domain, growing stronger with each passing year, each new tragedy that unfolded within its walls. The team, their faces pale with dawning realization, understood that they weren't just dealing with a haunted house. They were dealing with something far more ancient, far more powerful, something evil to its core. Section 5. Unmasking the Malevolence. The final piece of the puzzle fell into place when they discovered a hidden chamber behind the fireplace in the living room. Inside, they found a large, ornate mirror, its surface cloudy with age. As they cleaned the mirror, revealing its true reflection, a wave of icy cold swept through the room and the air crackled with energy. The mirror, they realized, was more than just a reflection of the physical world. It was a window into the spiritual realm, a portal that Dr. Holloway had created in his desperate attempt to cheat death. And it was through this portal that the true nature of the evil that haunted Holloway House had entered their world. The entity, a malevolent force that had been drawn to Dr. Holloway's dark experiments, had used the portal to cross over, to take up residence within the walls of the house. It had fed off the doctor's obsession, his willingness to inflict pain and suffering, growing stronger with each passing year, each new victim that crossed the threshold of Holloway House. The team, their faces grim with understanding, realized the terrible truth. They were not just dealing with a haunted house. They were dealing with a gateway to hell itself. A place where the veil between worlds was thin, where the darkness could seep through and claim the souls of the living, and they were trapped within its grasp. Section 1. The Lure of the Unknown. The news of the paranormal investigation, though shrouded in secrecy by Dr. Carter and her team, eventually leaked out, adding another layer of notoriety to Holloway House's sinister reputation. Despite the chilling accounts of the house's malevolent nature, the stories seemed to attract, rather than deter, a new breed of thrill-seeker. Michael, an aspiring documentary filmmaker, saw Holloway House as his ticket to fame, a chance to capture irrefutable evidence of the paranormal and share it with the world. Armed with an arsenal of cameras, recording equipment, and a youthful sense of invincibility, he set out to spend a night alone in the house, determined to document whatever lurked within its walls. He dismissed the warnings of locals, the stories of previous tragedies dismissed as mere folklore, exaggerated for dramatic effect. This was his chance to expose the truth, to separate fact from fiction, to become a legend in the world of paranormal investigation. As the sun began its final descent, casting long, ominous shadows across the overgrown lawn, Michael crossed the threshold of Holloway House, unaware that he was stepping into a darkness far more profound, far more ancient than he could have ever imagined. The early hours of Michael's stay were deceptively quiet. He explored the house, his camera capturing every creaking step, every flickering shadow. The air was heavy with anticipation, a palpable tension that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. He spoke into the camera, his voice echoing in the silence, attempting to mask the tremor of fear that ran through him. As the night deepened, the house seemed to awaken. The EMF reader in Michael's hand began to spike erratically, its digital display flashing as if overloaded with unseen energy. A cold spot settled over him despite the warmth of the summer night. He spoke into the camera, his voice strained, trying to rationalize the phenomena, but his words lacked conviction. He pressed on, drawn deeper into the house's labyrinthine corridors, his every sense on high alert. He reached the library, the room where Dr. Carter's team had discovered the hidden chamber and the sinister journals. As he stepped inside, the temperature plummeted, the air growing heavy and oppressive. He set up a static camera in the corner, its lens pointed towards the heavy bookshelf that concealed the hidden door. He reached out, his hand trembling slightly, and grasped the edge of the shelf, preparing to move it aside and reveal the secrets that lay beyond. His heart pounded in his chest. a frantic rhythm against the backdrop of the house's unsettling silence. The footage recovered from Michael's GoPro camera ended abruptly as he moved the bookshelf, the camera tumbling to the floor, its lens capturing a chaotic jumble of images before cutting to static. Search parties scoured the house and the surrounding woods, but no trace of Michael was ever found. Holloway House had claimed another victim, its insatiable hunger for darkness seemingly unquenched. Michael's disappearance, the final chapter in the house's long and bloody history, cemented its reputation as a place of true evil, a place where the veil between worlds was thin and the darkness could reach out and claim the souls of the living. The house stands to this day, abandoned and decaying, a silent monument to the horrors it has witnessed. The locals avoid it, their whispers following its every shadow, their stories a constant reminder of the darkness that lurks within its walls. Some believe that Michael's spirit is trapped within the house, his soul forever bound to the entity that claimed him. Whether or not his spirit remains, one thing is certain: Holloway House is not a place for the living. It is a place of sorrow, of pain, of a darkness so profound that it defies explanation. It is a stark reminder that some mysteries are best left unsolved, some doors best left unopened, and some places best left undisturbed. The stories of Holloway House linger, whispers in the dead of night that send shivers down your spine. Each tragedy, each unexplained disappearance, adds another layer to its grim legend. Was it the doctor's twisted experiments that corrupted the house, turning it into a magnet for the supernatural? Or was there something inherently evil about the place, a darkness that predated even the house's construction? We are left with more questions than answers, haunted by the enduring mystery that surrounds Holloway House. The paranormal investigators, despite their best efforts, could only scratch the surface of the darkness that resided within those walls. The house, it seemed, guarded its secrets closely, revealing them only to those it deemed worthy of its malevolent attention. The families who crossed its threshold, seeking warmth, love, and a place to call home, found only tragedy and despair. Their dreams turned into nightmares, their laughter silenced by an unseen force. The house, like a predator lying in wait, consumed their hopes and dreams, leaving behind only whispers and shadows. We are left to ponder the nature of evil, the unseen forces that shape our world, the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most idyllic settings. Holloway House stands as a chilling reminder that some places are best left undisturbed, their secrets buried deep within their foundations. Even today, decades after the last documented tragedy, Holloway House maintains its grip on the imagination. The locals avoid it, their whispers following its every shadow, their stories a chilling testament to its enduring power. The house has become a local legend, a cautionary tale whispered around campfires, a reminder that some places are best left undisturbed. The stories of Holloway House serve as a stark reminder that we live in a world where not everything can be explained by logic and reason. There are forces at play beyond our comprehension, energies that defy scientific measurement, and places where the veil between the living and the dead wears thin. The house stands as a haunting symbol of the unknown, a testament to the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of our everyday lives. It challenges our perceptions, forcing us to confront the possibility that there are forces at work in the universe that we may never fully understand. Holloway House, with its boarded-up windows and overgrown lawn, will continue to cast a long shadow, a silent sentinel to the mysteries that lie hidden within its walls. And we, the inheritors of its chilling legacy, will continue to tell its stories, to whisper its name, and to wonder at the true nature of the darkness that resides within.